to another episode of Beyond the Final Whistle with myself, Usanani Mangisa. The past week is packed with a lot of sports action, but tonight we're going to dedicate the whole evening to FIFA World Cup. Gents, there's been a lot of talk about the VAR system and the level of refereeing in this whole tournament. I think it's good to hear your take and how you found it, and is it working, is it not?
The VAR is necessary for the future of soccer. Because we've seen a lot of dubious decisions made by referees. There's a lot of diving, which is what has ruined this World Cup so far. A lot of ticky-tack, small things, diving of players. So VAR is necessary going forward. I mean, it's still in a testing phase. So most of the decisions have been favorable, but still I don't think it's been used effectively by the referees. There's a lot of no calls and a lot of things that look bad when you're watching it, and it slows down the game, which is what we hate.
Do you guys think we need to limit the scope? I think that's another thing. Limit the scope of what you can ask for. I mean, with hockey, it's goal, no goal, or led to a goal or no goal. So your scope of what you can ask for is very limited. Could that help football a little bit?
I think it can. I think to Thomas' point, I think the biggest thing about VAR and why football was so against it was the slowing down of the momentum of the game. Some decisions have taken too long, in my opinion. But I think at some stage, to his point, we're still testing. But at some stage, maybe we'll get into a situation where each team, like in cricket, gets an opportunity to appeal over a decision. To his point, there's been a number of decisions where we've seen it on the replays, but the referee decides that he's not going to go to VAR. I think that's a good opportunity to introduce a system very similar to cricket, where each person or each team gets maybe 2.5, where they can decide that they're going to take it upstairs and challenge the referee's decision. I think that will be a better way to make sure that the game continues to flow.
I think it's also going to limit the grey areas where teams are just asking for anything, and then just you must be clear and must be really believe that was an infringement.
And that's one thing we don't want to be in. Like, soccer is a dynamic sport, so we want to make sure that the action pack stays there. The worst thing you want is an appeal. Every time there's an appeal, it needs to go to the VAR. Then that spoils the whole thing. So they need to find a balance between evolving the game, including technology, and making sure that the decisions are right. Cut out that human error.
Right, we're 32 games in, and having a look at the overall refereeing, what's out of 10? Give a number out of 10. Just on the overall standard of refereeing.
I'll give them a 7.5. I mean, like I said, there's been one or two decisions where clearly from the replays you can see that something happened, and yet the referee didn't take it upstairs. So there has been one or two mistakes, but that's only natural. I think the good thing is that I don't think any team can really put up their hand and say, our game was spoiled because of a decision that the referee didn't make. I think there's less of those controversial decisions in this World Cup than perhaps in the past.
And the nice thing that they made is that the VAR only comes into effect if it's a decision in the box. So if someone gets fouled in the halfway line, it doesn't go back there.
You don't take it upstairs.
So with that being taken into context, I think slightly better in terms of officiating because technology is coming into place. And for me, the World Cup is flowing. We're getting goals. We're getting it's flowing.
I give it a 5. I think the referees have been awful in this with VAR technology. Some of the refereeing in this World Cup is just awful. It's also the players are ruining it as well. It's very difficult to referee some of the superstars and all of these little niggles that they pick up, the diving and the flopping. So the referees, I think there's too many things that they shouldn't, they don't give that they should give. I haven't enjoyed the World Cup as yet because of small stupid things between the players and the referees.
But do you think the output of VAR might be in the future less diving, less what do they call it, gamesmanship? Because now obviously with camera replays you can always go back and check. Instead of getting a penalty, you're getting a yellow card or maybe even a red card.
But they're still giving away penalties where the players initiate contact, like the Portugal game, where the thing is, Ronaldo wasn't going to score in that. He was just running, but there was contact.
Yeah.
They still gave it.
Guys,
As a foul.
I'm gonna bring that up, and I need us to discuss it quite clearly. The rules say, obviously, contact depends. As a player, though, if I know that I'm in the box, I get contact, right? And the level of contact that I get could see me get a penalty. Where do I draw the line? Where is it sportsmanship not to go down, or where is I'm going to draw the foul?
The one decision, if you watched the Brazil game against Costa Rica, it was a clear flop by Neymar. The guy barely touched him, and then when he felt the contact, Neymar, and they didn't even get a card. So the players,
Lack of consistency.
the players want to win.
Yeah.
The players want to win. They'll win at all costs. But now this is becoming hideous to watch, where top players who get paid vast amounts of money flop like that. Especially with the Neymar. The Neymar one was blatant, and the referee called it. He first called a penalty, then he went to VAR, and they changed it. So.
But there was no retrospective action taken against
There was no retrospective.
So he will continue to dive in.
Neymar should get 5 games,
Yeah.
2 games for that, because
It'll stop. That's how it's going to stop.
that's how it's going to stop.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I think also the cultural thing in football, in lots of other sports, I guess, you don't have that almost 150 countries playing the same sport. And I think it's just so many different cultures. So in South America, cheating is not necessarily seen as cheating as you see it in the UK. Cheating in South America is trying to get a one up on you, and therefore I've actually gained an advantage over you by cheating.
And sort of coincidence that most of these guys who win penalties or simulate are from South American players. So it's a cultural thing, you would say. No offense to
South Americans.
No, I'm sure none taken. All right, guys, we'll wrap that part up there. But I think thank you for your insights and your intake. I think as we see the tournament go further and further, we will definitely see a lot more referees at play, more refereeing decisions come to play, and the VAR come to play. Right, we'll wrap that up for now. And I'm sure there'll be lots more debate on the VAR system and the refereeing throughout the whole tournament. Send us your questions, your comments, and join in on the banter.